Okay, we are on lesson 121 of Course in Miracles. Forgiveness is the key to happiness. Um, it's interesting, and I was going to say go in another direction, but I will in a minute. But I'm reading it. When I read this just now, it really dawned on me, and this is sort of in relation to something that's going on presently in a conversation that's taking place on Facebook. Forgiveness is the key to happiness. Notice that it doesn't say that revelation is the key to happiness. It says forgiveness is the key to happiness, because revelation is only a temporary expedient to do away with fear altogether, but only for the instant in the purity of that experience. And what we're being offered here is a way to integrate the purity of the experience through an action of our own mind, and we call that action forgiveness. And that action of mine is being associated with God, love, and reality, rather than the guilt and the fear that we think we need the forgiveness for. Guilt and fear are signposts, are effects that show us that we need to forgive. But forgiveness as an action of our mind leads to peace, and in the condition of a peace that passeth understanding, we do begin to experience the dawning of the laws of the kingdom. We do begin to know. We do have moments of knowing. It's not knowing something, it's just knowing. It's a pure, direct experience. And those moments of knowing, when we associate them with forgiveness, we can begin to understand why forgiveness is the key to happiness. Maybe I'll say a little bit more about that. But what I did want to say from the beginning is this. Notice that the lesson speaks of the unforgiving mind, not the unforgiven mind. And there's a big, big difference. You already have been forgiven. It is the use of forgiveness in your own action of forgiving that allows you to know that you and all your brothers are forgiven. So, I know for a fact that when we read something like this, the unforgiving mind is filled with judgment, it's condemnation, damnation, and we have those experiences, we tend to think of ourselves as unforgiven rather than unforgiving. There is a big, big difference. We are already forgiven in reality, for there is nothing to forgive us of. So our minds require the action of forgiveness. We need to forgive in order to experience ourselves as being forgiven. And it makes pretty much sense when you begin to look at it in those terms and use the actual words rather than the words that the ego experience would tend to foster as judgments against ourselves. So the unforgiving mind is in despair, without the prospect of a future which can offer anything but more despair. Yet it regards its judgment of the world as irreversible and does not see it as condemned itself to this despair. It doesn't see it's already forgiven. It doesn't understand that the true use and the totality of the use of forgiveness shows you that there is nothing to forgive. It just keeps you locked up in the thought that you're not forgiven, and therefore there's reason to be guilty. Because if you're not forgiven, there must be a reason you're not forgiven, and you can never find the reason for you not being forgiven because you already are forgiven. The only reason you don't experience being forgiven is because you are the unforgiving mind. Your real, whole, perfect mind has no idea of what forgiveness is. If we go into your right mind when you join with the Holy Spirit, the brightness of the experience of healing that's brought to you in your right mind by the Holy Spirit doesn't validate the sin and make it real and show you it's forgiven. It shows you the sins that you thought you committed weren't real in the first place, and you had no reason to be unhappy anyway. And that it was just a passing egoic, it was a perceptual temper tantrum that you were implying upon yourself and upon all your brothers. It does not, let's see, where's it goes? It thinks it cannot change, for what it sees bears witness to its judgment is correct. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Obviously, it does not ask because it knows. It does not question because it's certain that it's right. It's locked tight within its judgments, unwilling to ask because it is unforgiving in and of itself, having judged itself and its brothers as being unforgiven, therefore sinful in the eyes of something that's immutable. Do you understand why we think that? Deep inside of us, we know of the eternal nature of our own creation and of God. We know of the infinite nature and the changeless state. When we associate unforgiveness, being unforgiven with God, it becomes an eternal state in our mind because we know the mind of God is eternal and changeless. So therefore we lock ourselves up in it. I don't know if this makes any sense. It comes from deep experience too. I know what it's like to to think of myself as unforgiven when I'm first told you need to forgive. The judgment grips you, and then you're locked, and you don't ask what that means. You're just locked in an experience of guilt, shame, pain, worthlessness, unworthiness, being less than, thinking there's something more than, thinking something outside is imposing that upon you. And you never question those things because your mind is unforgiving. And here's why. Forgiveness is acquired. It is not inherent in a mind which cannot sin. Exactly. That's what I was trying to say. When you experience the Holy Spirit joining with you in your own right mind, there is nothing to forgive. Therefore, there would be no reason to learn of forgiveness. Yet in this state of consciousness where we suffer the pain of dim awareness, the integration of the fact that there's nothing to forgive comes with the utilization of forgiveness so that we can raise the level of communication higher and higher until we are restored to the way that God and his creation communicated with it originally, which we call revelatory, which we call direct knowing. Direct, no perception is involved because there's nothing to perceive outside of you or other than you in the sense of not within the oneness of the totality of the kingdom. We're raising the level, raising the vibratory frequency of energy, opening up the spectrum of what is available to us when we utilize forgiveness in all our affairs. And there's an interesting sentence in here that I want to get to eventually, if I can just shut up for a second. Forgiveness is acquired. It is not inherent in a mind which cannot sin. As sin was an idea you taught yourself, forgiveness must be learned by you as well, but from a teacher other than yourself. And that teacher represents the other self in you, yes. Your right mind. You in your right mind where you are joined with the Holy Spirit, with the Father, as the Son, in the oneness of the kingdom, where all minds are in perfect accord already. Through him you learn how to forgive the self you made and let it disappear. Thus you return your mind as one to him who is yourself and who can never sin. This is the line I wanted to get to, and I'm not going to belabor this. Each unforgiving mind presents you with an opportunity to teach your own mind how to forgive. Each one awaits release from hell through you and turns to you imploringly for heaven here and now, not later when we die. Forgiveness offers us the recognition that there is no separation between heaven and earth here and now. So therefore we offer that understanding through our forgiving mind to any unforgiving mind that seems to present ourselves to us. And notice once again, it did not say unforgiven mind. It says unforgiving mind. And it turns to you imploringly for heaven here and now, not as a result or an effect of something that happens later in time in some sort of temporal sequence that we utilize time to be as a judgment laid upon ourselves and upon our brothers. The Holy Spirit uses time in quite a different way. And so can you learn to use time as he does when you listen to the voice that he offers you, when you turn to him and do question what the hell is going on around here, and how do I find my way out of this hell that I have made for myself and tried to imprison my brother here with me. We're having a discussion about, when I hear people say they don't care, I know they care. When people say I don't care, I know they care, because I know God is all caring, and so are you. You cannot not care. The truth is, we can trust in the total care of the Father, so therefore be unconcerned with the outcome. But of course we care for our brother, because God cares for us, and our mind and God's mind are one mind, and we're utilizing God's mind to be who we are as he created us. So we care totally about everything, not in a codependent or what should I call it, repressive way, but in a way which is open and free, because our brother's salvation is our salvation. So of course I care about you. Of course I care what's happening to you. When we begin to look deep down inside of us, one of the reasons why we have conversations with others and we talk about such things is because we do care, not because we don't care. We obviously care because we care about ourselves, because care, total care of the Father, is our reality. So therefore it is not separate from the mind which we're using to even deal with the issues of the day within the mundanity of life on planet Earth. Of course we care. How could we not care? It's not possible. We may not be concerned for a moment with what's occurring, because there's something else that we need to deal with in our own mind, which is the necessity for becoming forgiving. And then when we learn what forgiveness is, when we acquire the ability to forgive, and we see the totality of what's occurring as the salvation of our brothers and the working out of it in each and every one of it, and if you've had a revelatory experience, then you know that the end is the recognition of the totality of salvation, where we are back to where we were before any of this occurred. Then of course you learn to trust and not be concerned with the outcome, because you've recognized the way you've judged before was not necessarily what was actually going on. And you can trust in the certainty of God's total care for us to allow us the way home through the use of forgiveness, which we acquire and runs parallel to creation as an action of our mind. For heaven's sake. So each unforgiving mind presents you with an opportunity, presents me with an opportunity to teach us to learn how to forgive our own. Each one awaits release from hell through you and turns imploringly to you for heaven here and now. It has no hope, but you become its hope. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with he ain't heavy, he's my brother. That's the way this really is. We got into this together, we will get out of it as one. We came into it as together, we will get out of it as one, the way we've always been. An unforgiving mind must learn through your forgiveness that has been saved from hell. As you teach salvation, you will learn it. Yes. And what is more advantageous than someone looking at you, utilizing your forgiving mind to experience joy in the midst of hell on earth, and him turning to you and say, how do you do this? How do you deal with it? Now, your brother's interests are not separate from yours. You are not trying to foist upon him your spiritual ego and your need to teach because you think you know. You're willing to share your experience of salvation and offer him a way to know what you have come to know, in the recognition of the fact that your mind has become forgiving, and forgiveness is the key to happiness here.